All right, let's do it. Let's dive deep into the world of economics.
Sounds good.
We're cracking open the new economics dictionary today.
Oh, wow.
But, don't worry.
Okay.
We're not gonna, go through every single definition.
Right.
I think what we're really looking for here are those little aha moments,
I see.
those surprising things that, that kind of connect economics back to our lives.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Because it's easy to think of economics as this sort of separate thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it really is all around us.
It really is. It's like a hidden landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might think a dictionary is super dry, but there are some gems in there.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
We'll uncover the stories behind terms like, for example, the Big Mac Index,
Big Mac Index, what's that?
which, believe it or not, helps us understand currency values
Really?
using everyone's favorite burger.
Oh, wow. Okay. But before we get to Burgernomics, let's start with the foundations.
Sure.
Every journey needs a good map, right?
Exactly. And in economics, that max starts with scarcity.
Scarcity, okay.
It's the root of, well, all of it, really.
Really?
Yeah, it's the clash between our unlimited wants
Hmm.
and the very real limits of resources.
So even if we had all the money in the world,
Yeah,
there would still be scarcity because there's only so much stuff.
precisely. Think about your own life.
Okay.
You only have so much time, right,
Yeah.
in a day.
Yeah.
Do you spend it working overtime for extra cash?
Right.
Or do you use that time to relax with family?
That's a good point.
That decision, what you're giving up to get something else,
Hmm.
that's opportunity cost.
Oh, wow. So even relaxing has a hidden cost.
It does. Every choice has a trade-off.
Wow.
Now, to build something,
Okay.
whether it's a weekend plan
Yep.
or an entire economy, you need the right ingredients.
Okay.
The economists, they call these the factors of production:
Okay.
land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
Okay, so land I get, right?
Sure.
That's the natural resources we have available.
Yes.
But what about the others?
Well, labor.
Okay.
That's all the human effort that goes into, producing things.
Oh.
Capital isn't just money.
Oh, okay.
It's the tools, machines, and infrastructure we use.
I see.
And entrepreneurship is that spark.
Okay.
The risk takers
Yeah.
who bring all these factors together.
So it's kind of like baking a cake.
Yeah.
You need the ingredients, the oven, someone to do the mixing,
Right.
and a recipe to follow, right?
Right. But of course, there are different ways to bake that cake,
Yeah, that's true.
which leads us to economic systems.
Oh, okay, got it.
How those factors of production are owned and controlled determines the type of economic system a society has.
Makes sense.
You've got capitalism,
Okay.
where individuals mostly own things.
Mhm.
Communism, where the state controls most of the resources.
Okay.
And mixed economies, which blend elements of both.
So it's like choosing between like a homemade cake,
Mm.
a store-bought cake,
Yeah.
or maybe something in between.
Right.
Each system has its own flavor
It does.
and comes with its own set of pros and cons.
Yeah, and those flavors, they change over time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Economic systems are constantly evolving,
Okay.
influenced by technology, globalization, and societal values.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's move on to the forces
Okay.
that shape how these systems function.
Okay.
Supply and demand,
Ah, supply and demand.
the classic duo.
The classic duo. Everyone's heard of it.
Right.
But I'll admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on how it all works.
Okay. Well, imagine a bustling marketplace.
Okay.
Demand is all about what people want
Mm-hmm.
and are willing to pay for.
Makes sense.
Supply is what producers are offering
Okay.
at various prices. It's like a constant dance
Okay.
between buyers and sellers.
Right.
And the music they're dancing to
Mm-hmm.
is the price.
Okay. So if everyone suddenly wants avocado toast,
Yeah,
demand goes up,
it goes up.
and the price of avocados probably skyrockets.
Exactly. But here's where things get interesting.
Okay. Tell me more.
How much that price changes
Yeah.
depends on something called elasticity.
Elasticity.
It's all about how sensitive demand is
Okay.
to to price swings.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Okay, imagine a luxury car.
Okay.
If the price jumps,
Yeah.
demand probably plummets
Okay.
because people can easily live without it.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's elastic demand.
Elastic demand.
But if the price of gasoline rises,
Mm-hmm.
people might grumble,
Yeah, sure.
but they still need to drive.
Yeah.
So demand might not drop as much.
Right.
That's inelastic demand.
Okay, so elasticity basically tells us how much wiggle room there is.
Yeah, something like that.
We're in a market.
Yeah. Now, when supply and demand finally find that sweet spot,
Mm-hmm.
we hit market equilibrium.
Market equilibrium.
Right. But here's the catch.
Okay.
Equilibrium isn't some fixed point.
Oh,
It's constantly shifting
I see.
as consumer preferences,
Okay.
production costs,
Mm.
and external factors come into play.
Right.
It's more like a dynamic balancing act
Okay.
than a static state.
So it's like a dance where the music keeps changing.
Yes.
And everyone's trying to stay in step.
Precisely. Now let's zoom out from the individual dance floor and look at the entire ballroom.
Right.
The world of macroeconomics.
Macroeconomics.
It's about understanding the economy as a whole.
Okay.
Things like national income,
Okay.
inflation,
Right.
unemployment,
Mm-hmm.
and government policies.
Macroeconomics sounds like a big topic.
It is a big one.
How do we even begin to measure something like national income?
One way is through GDP,
GDP.
gross domestic product.
Okay.
Think of it as a country's annual report card
Okay.
showing the total value of everything
Okay.
it produced in a year.
Makes sense.
It helps us gauge how well an economy is doing overall.
Okay, so GDP is like the big picture scorecard.
Yeah, you could say that.
But what about inflation? That's something we all feel in our wallets, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Inflation is the rate at which prices rise,
Hmm?
and it directly affects your purchasing power.
Right.
Remember those avocados?
Yeah.
If their price keeps climbing,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to buy fewer avocados with the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's like your money is slowly losing its value.
Definitely not something I want happening to to my grocery budget.
Right.
Speaking of economic woes,
Yeah.
what about unemployment?
Unemployment is a multifaceted issue,
Okay.
and to understand it, let's consider one type:
Okay.
structural unemployment.
Structural unemployment.
This happens when there's a mismatch between the skills
Yes, sir.
workers have and the jobs available.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a town where everyone worked in a factory
Right.
that suddenly shut down.
Oh, yeah.
Those workers might struggle to find new jobs
Right.
without retraining.
So it's not just about the number of jobs,
Right.
but also whether those jobs match the skills people have.
Exactly. Now, to tackle issues like unemployment, governments use tools like fiscal policy,
Okay.
spending, and taxation decisions.
It's like the government's budget, right?
It is.
How much they spend on things like infrastructure,
Yeah.
education, and healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
and how much they collect in taxes to fund those programs.
There are always debates about the right approach.
Oh, I that.
Some argue for austerity,
Okay.
cutting spending to reduce debt,
Mm-hmm.
while others advocate for stimulus,
Stimulus.
increasing spending to boost demand during tough times.
So it's like a constant balancing act.
It
It's
is.
trying to find that right mix of spending and saving.
Yeah.
What about monetary policy?
No.
How does that fit into the picture?
Monetary policies where central banks come in.
Central banks.
They use interest rates
Okay.
to influence borrowing, spending, and inflation.
Okay.
If the economy is overheating,
Mm-hmm.
they might raise interest rates to cool things down.
I see.
If it's sluggish,
Okay.
they might lower rates
Okay.
to encourage borrowing and investment.
So it's like they're controlling the economic thermostat
It
It's
is.
trying to keep things at a comfortable temperature.
Exactly.
But wait, you mentioned something about negative interest rates earlier.
Yes.
How does that even work?
Negative interest rates are pretty unconventional,
Okay.
but they've been used in some countries um, to try to stimulate growth.
Really?
Essentially, banks are charged a fee
Oh,
to
wow.
hold their reserves at the central bank,
Okay.
which encourages them to lend more money
Okay.
and hopefully boost economic activity.
Wow, negative interest rates. That's a concept I need to wrap my head around.
It's definitely a head scratcher.
Yeah.
You know what's really fascinating
Right.
is how all these macro concepts,
Okay.
GDP, inflation, unemployment,
Mm.
are ultimately shaped by millions
Okay.
of individual choices that happen every day.
Right.
That brings us to the world of microeconomics.
Microeconomics. Okay.
It's about how individuals,
Mm-hmm.
households, and firms make decisions
Okay.
in specific markets.
Okay.
We're talking about things like consumer behavior,
Okay.
market structures,
Mm-hmm.
and how businesses make choices about production and pricing.
So if macroeconomics is the big picture,
Yeah,
microeconomics is about zooming in on the individual pieces of the puzzle.
exactly.
Okay.
It's about how individuals,
Mhm.
households, and firms make decisions
Okay.
in specific markets.
Okay.
We're talking about things like consumer behavior,
Okay.
market structure,
Mhm.
and how businesses make choices about production and pricing.
Microeconomics feels like it's getting closer to home,
Absolutely,
closer to the decisions we make every day.
it is. For example, consumer behavior
Okay.
explores how individuals make choices
Okay.
based on their preferences,
Okay.
budget constraints,
Mm-hmm.
and the prices of goods and services.
Right.
Remember those avocados?
Yeah.
The price you're willing to pay
Yeah.
for your avocado toast
Right.
is part of the demand side of the equation.
So it's all about understanding those individual choices
Exactly.
and how they add up to shape the overall market.
And to understand how those choices play out,
Okay.
we need to consider the different types of market structures.
Market structure.
There's perfect competition,
Okay.
where countless small firms offer identical products,
Mhm.
monopolies,
Okay.
where a single firm dominates the market, and oligopolies,
Oligopolies.
where a few big players call the shots.
Okay, so each structure has its own dynamics.
Yeah, it goes.
Competition, prices, and consumer choices can vary widely depending on the type of market.
You got it. Now here's where things get interesting.
Okay, tell me.
Sometimes markets don't work perfectly.
Oh, really?
We call this market failure.
Market failure. Give me an example of that.
Think about pollution.
Okay.
A factory might produce goods cheaply,
Mm-hmm.
but the pollution harms the environment and public health.
Right.
Those costs aren't reflected in the price of the goods,
Okay.
so the market fails to account for the full impact of production.
So market failures are like glitches in the system.
They are.
And sometimes we need government intervention
We do.
to try to fix those glitches.
Exactly. Regulations, taxes, or subsidies can be used to address these inefficiencies and try to promote a more optimal outcome. Now, before we move on,
Okay.
let's sprinkle in a few of those intriguing concepts
Yeah.
we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Remember the Big Mac Index?
Oh, yeah. The burger-based economics. I'm all ears.
It's a fun way to illustrate purchasing power parity,
Okay.
which is the idea that exchange rates should adjust
Okay.
so that a basket of goods
Mm-hmm.
costs roughly the same
Okay.
in different countries.
Makes sense.
The Economist magazine came up with the Big Mac Index,
Really?
which compares the price of a Big Mac,
Okay.
a standardized product available worldwide,
Right.
to see whether currencies are overvalued or undervalued.
So if a Big Mac is cheaper in one country than another,
Yeah,
it suggests that the currency of the cheaper country might be undervalued.
exactly. It's a simplified way to think about it. but it can provide some interesting insights into currency valuations.
That's pretty cool. Okay, one last intriguing concept before we take a break.
Okay.
You mentioned something about helicopter money.
Helicopter money. It's a pretty extreme policy response.
Really?
Often discussed in times of severe economic crisis.
Okay.
Imagine a central bank literally printing money.
Wow.
And distributing it directly to the public.
Really?
To stimulate spending and boost demand.
So it's like a monetary airdrop.
You could say that.
Raining cash from the sky.
Right.
But wouldn't that cause massive inflation?
It's definitely a risky move.
Okay.
And there are a lot of debates about its potential consequences.
Okay.
It's a last resort.
Okay.
Something that might be considered when traditional monetary policy tools seem to be failing.
Wow, helicopter money. That's a thought-provoking image.
It is.
Well, with those visions of airborne cash swirling in our heads,
right.
Let's take a break.
Sounds good.
When we come back, we'll explore the quirks of human behavior.
Okay.
That shape our economic decisions.
Right.
And delve into some of the biggest forces shaping the world today. Stay tuned.
All right. Welcome back. Before the break, we were picturing helicopters dropping money.
Oh, yeah.
From the sky. Pretty wild idea.
It is.
But now let's touch down into the world of behavioral economics.
Behavioral economics, okay.
Where we explore the fascinating and sometimes irrational ways humans make decisions.
This is where things get really relatable.
I think so too.
Because let's face it, we don't always make perfectly logical choices.
No, we don't.
Emotions, biases, those definitely play a role in my spending habits.
They do.
Yeah. So behavioral economics digs into those quirks and helps us understand why we might make choices that seem to defy traditional economic thinking.
It does.
So it's like peeking behind the curtain of our own minds.
Exactly.
To see what's really driving our decisions.
Yeah.
Give me some examples. What are some of those sneaky biases that trip us up?
One common culprit is anchoring.
Anchoring.
We tend to latch onto an initial piece of information, an anchor.
Oh, okay.
And let it disproportionately influence our judgments.
I see.
Think about those sale signs you see.
Oh, yeah, everywhere.
If a store marks down a sweater from, let's say, $100 to $50,
yeah,
that initial that $100 price becomes an anchor,
right?
Making the $50 seem like a steal,
right? Even if it's still more than you would normally spend.
Exactly.
So that's how they get us.
It is.
They're like, they're setting a reference point to make us feel like we're getting a great deal, even if we're not.
Yeah.
What about loss aversion?
Okay.
I feel like I've definitely fallen victim to that one.
Loss aversion is our tendency to feel the pain of a loss much more strongly.
Okay.
Than the pleasure of an equivalent gain.
I see.
This can lead us to hold on to losing investments for too long.
Oh yeah.
Hoping they'll rebound.
Yeah.
Even if it's statistically unlikely.
Oh, I've been there.
Right.
It's like that sinking feeling when you realize you should have sold that stock months ago, but you just couldn't bring yourself to do it.
Exactly.
So we're basically hardwired to avoid losses.
We are.
Even if it means missing out on potential gains.
Exactly. And these biases, they aren't limited to our personal finances.
Oh, really?
They influence everything.
Wow. Like what? From how we negotiate salaries.
Oh, okay.
To how we choose between different products.
This is making me rethink a lot of my choices.
Mm-hmm.
So behavioral economics is basically saying that that humans aren't those perfectly rational actors,
right,
that traditional economic models often assume.
Yeah. It's not that traditional economics is wrong.
Okay.
But it often simplifies human behavior too much.
Okay.
Behavioral economics adds that layer of psychological complexity.
Okay.
Making it a more accurate and insightful tool for understanding how markets work.
In the real world.
In the real world.
It's like we're upgrading our economic software.
Yes.
To include those human quirks. Okay, let's shift gears.
Sure.
And look at some of the larger forces shaping the global economy.
Okay.
Starting with globalization.
Globalization.
This has been a hot topic for decades, hasn't it? Oh, it certainly has. Globalization is about the increasing interconnectedness of economies worldwide,
Okay.
driven by trade, investment, technology, and the movement of people.
Right.
It's like it's like the world is becoming one giant marketplace
Wow.
with both opportunities and challenges.
It seems like globalization is everywhere you look.
Yes.
From the clothes we wear to the food we eat.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gets a lot of criticism.
It does.
What are some of the downsides?
Well, one concern is that globalization can lead to job displacement,
Okay.
especially in industries that face competition from cheaper labor in other countries.
Okay.
There are also concerns about increased inequality
Right.
and environmental damage
Yeah.
as companies seek to maximize profits
Right.
in a globalized system.
So it's not all sunshine and roses. There are winners and losers
There are.
in this interconnected world.
That's the dilemma. Globalization is complex. It's not inherently good or bad,
Okay.
but it requires careful management to ensure that its benefits are shared
Okay.
more widely and its negative impacts are minimized.
It's like we need to find a way to steer globalization in a direction that works for everyone.
Yes.
Now, another concept often linked to globalization is free trade.
Free trade, okay.
Free trade is about removing barriers to international trade,
Right.
like tariffs, quotas,
Yeah.
and subsidies.
Okay.
The idea is that allowing goods and services to flow freely between countries
Okay.
leads to greater efficiency, lower prices, and more economic growth overall.
Right.
So in theory, it sounds like everyone wins when countries trade freely with each other.
It does.
But I know there are often controversies surrounding free trade agreements.
Yeah. What are some of the criticisms?
Well, one concern is that free trade can lead to job losses in specific industries
Okay.
as companies shift production to countries with lower labor costs.
Right.
Another criticism is that it can lead to exploitation of workers
Right.
and weaker environmental regulations
Okay.
in developing countries as companies try to gain a competitive edge.
So it's not as simple as just opening up all the borders
It's not.
and letting the free market work its magic.
No, it's we need to think about the social and environmental implications of free trade, and consider ways to mitigate those negative impacts.
Okay.
While still promoting economic growth.
It's like we need a more nuanced approach.
Yeah,
I think so. One that takes into account the broader consequences of free trade,
Right.
not just the economic benefits. Exactly. Now, we're shifting gears to another topic that's been gaining a lot of attention.
Okay.
Sustainable development.
Sustainable development.
Sustainable development is it's all about finding ways to meet our needs today
Okay.
without compromising the ability of future generations
Okay.
to meet theirs.
So it's about thinking long term
It is.
and recognizing that our actions today have consequences for the planet
They do.
and future generations.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach
Okay.
that recognizes the interconnectedness of economic, social, and environmental issues.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that balance.
It is.
Yeah.
Speaking of interconnected issues,
Definitely.
climate change is clearly a major challenge
It is.
facing the world today.
Yeah.
And it's increasingly intertwined with economics.
Climate change is no longer just an environmental issue. It's a pressing economic issue as well.
It is. It is.
The costs of extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and disruptions to ecosystems
Yeah.
are already being felt
Yeah.
worldwide,
Right.
and they're projected to increase dramatically in the coming decades.
Yes.
It's a wake-up call for everyone.
It is.
Businesses, governments, individuals to take action.
Right.
What are some of the economic solutions
Okay.
being explored
Right.
to address climate change.
There's a wide range of approaches being considered.
Okay.
Carbon pricing mechanisms,
Okay.
like carbon taxes and cap and trade systems,
Mm.
aim to put a price on carbon emissions,
Okay.
to incentivize businesses to reduce their footprint.
Makes sense.
We're also seeing major investments in renewable energy efficiency, and sustainable infrastructure.
So it's about shifting to a low carbon economy
It is.
while also adapting to the changes that are already happening.
Precisely. It's a complex challenge.
Yeah.
But it's one we must address urgently.
Well said. From the global scale of climate change, let's zoom back in
Okay.
to something that affects us all on a personal level.
All right.
Personal finance.
Cool finance.
So personal finance is about managing your money wisely,
It is.
making smart decisions about spending, saving, investing, and borrowing.
Right.
It's about taking control of your financial well-being
Mm-hmm.
and setting yourself up for a secure future.
It is.
It can be a daunting topic,
It can.
especially in today's complex financial world.
Right.
Where do you even begin?
One of the most fundamental principles is to live within your means.
Okay.
Spending less than you earn.
Right.
And saving the difference.
It sounds simple,
It does.
but it's surprising how many people struggle with this.
It is. It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in the cycle of consumerism,
It is.
always wanting the latest and greatest gadgets,
Yeah.
or keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to prioritize your spending.
Right.
Figure out what truly matters to you. Differentiate between needs and wants,
Okay.
and avoid falling into the trap of lifestyle inflation.
So creating a budget, tracking your expenses, and setting clear financial goals are all crucial steps.
They are.
What about investing? That always seems a bit intimidating.
Investing can seem complicated,
Yeah.
but it's a key part of building long-term wealth.
Okay.
The magic of compounding, turning returns on your returns,
Okay.
can really make your money grow over time.
Compound. It's like the snowball effect
It is.
for your savings. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's touch on one more topic that's both fascinating and relevant
All right.
to everyone: income inequality.
Okay.
This has become a major concern in many countries.
It has. It has.
Income inequality refers to the unequal distribution of income and wealth
Right.
within a society.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue with far-reaching consequences,
It is.
impacting everything from social mobility to political stability.
Right.
It does. We'll often hear about the 1% versus the 99%.
Right.
How do economists actually measure and analyze income inequality?
One common tool is the Gini coefficient.
Gini coefficient.
It's a number between 0 and 1
Okay.
that measures how evenly income is distributed.
Okay.
A Gini coefficient of 0 represents perfect equality,
Okay.
where everyone earns the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
A coefficient of 1 represents perfect inequality,
Okay.
where one person holds all the wealth.
Right.
Most countries fall somewhere in between.
So the higher the Gini coefficient,
Yeah.
the more unequal the distribution of income in a society.
Exactly.
What are some of the factors that drive income inequality?
There are many contributing factors,
Okay.
including globalization,
Okay.
technological advancements
Mm-hmm.
that displace certain types of jobs,
Right.
changes in labor markets,
Okay.
tax policies that favor the wealthy,
Right.
and disparities in access to education and healthcare.
Okay.
It's a complex web of economic and social forces.
And income inequality is clearly more than just an economic issue.
It is.
It has social and political implications as well.
Absolutely. High levels of income inequality
Mm-hmm.
can lead to social unrest,
Erosion.
erosion of trust
Mm-hmm.
in institutions,
Okay.
and difficulty in in maintaining political stability.
Right.
Addressing this issue requires a multi-pronged approach
Okay.
that includes things like progressive taxation,
Okay.
investments in education and job training,
Mm-hmm.
strengthening social safety nets,
Okay.
and promoting fair labor practices.
It's about creating a more equitable and just society.
Yes,
One where everyone has a fair shot at economic opportunity.
it is.
Okay, with those weighty thoughts in mind.
Yeah.
Let's gear up for the final leg of our economics dictionary journey.
Sounds good.
When we return, we'll wrap things up
Cool.
with some thought-provoking questions
Okay.
about the future of the future of economics in a rapidly changing world.
Right.
Don't miss it. Welcome back. We've reached the final part of our deep dive into the new economics dictionary. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
We've covered so much.
Yeah. We started with the basics of how economies work,
Right.
and then zoomed out to look at the global forces shaping the world.
Yeah, and what really struck me?
What's that?
Economics is at its heart about understanding people.
I think you're right. It's about how people make choices
Yeah.
and how those choices impact markets.
Exactly. And how those individual actions kind of create the larger economic picture.
Exactly. Like we're all part of this giant economic ecosystem.
Yeah.
Constantly interacting and influencing each other,
Yeah, even if we don't realize it.
even if we don't even know what's happening. But here's the thing that's been on my mind.
Okay, what's that?
A lot of traditional economic models,
Mm-hmm.
they assume a certain level of like stability
Okay.
and predictability.
Right, yeah.
But the world we live in today is anything DUT stable.
You're telling me.
Right.
Technology is advancing so fast.
It is. It's lightning speed, really.
Yeah. And globalization keeps reshaping industries.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're facing all these new challenges
Right.
like climate change.
Yeah.
And demographic shifts and things.
Yeah. It feels like things are constantly changing,
It does.
and that leads to a really important question.
What's that?
Are the economic tools and models we've relied on in the past
Yeah.
still equipped to handle this rapidly changing world?
That's a huge EE question. It makes me wonder if we need to kind of rethink some of our assumptions and frameworks.
I think we might need to.
Are there any alternative approaches out there
There are.
that might be a better fit for the 21st century?
That's what I find so exciting about this field.
What do you mean?
There are definitely economists out there pushing the boundaries,
Oh, that's cool.
exploring new ideas.
Okay.
We already talked about behavioral economics,
Right. Yeah.
which brings psychology into the mix.
Right.
There's also complexity economics,
Complexity economics.
which looks at how interconnected and dynamic economic systems really are.
It sounds like economics is entering this new era of exploration.
It is. It is.
Innovation, even. So what are some of the big questions
Okay.
that economists are kind of grappling with these days?
Well, we're seeing a renewed focus on inequality,
Okay.
sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
and the future of work.
Right.
Economists are asking how we create economies
Okay.
that are more inclusive
Yeah.
and equitable.
Okay.
Where everyone has a fair shot.
Absolutely.
How do we balance economic growth
Yeah.
with protecting the environment, and how will things like automation
Okay.
and artificial intelligence change the nature of work
Right.
and the distribution of income?
These are some seriously complex challenges.
They are.
It's a bit daunting, honestly.
It is. It is.
But also, I guess it's hopeful, right?
Oh, definitely.
There are brilliant minds out there working on this stuff.
Yeah, and it highlights something really important, I think.
What's that?
Economics isn't just about numbers
Right.
or building models.
Okay.
It's about understanding the human stories behind those numbers
That's a good point.
and using that understanding to create a better future for everyone.
I love that. So it's about using economics as as a tool to solve problems,
It is.
to improve people's lives.
Absolutely.
Well, we've reached the end of our economics dictionary adventure.
We have.
It's been a wild ride through a vast and fascinating landscape.
I agree. We've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, that's true.
But hopefully we've sparked your curiosity
I think so.
and given you some new ways of thinking about the forces shaping the world.
Definitely. And remember, economics is more than just a subject in a textbook.
It ain't.
It's all around us. It's in the choices we make, the headlines we read,
Yeah.
the policies that that govern our lives.
So keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep asking those questions,
Mm-hmm.
and keep learning. There's always more to discover in the world of economics.
Well said. And until next time, happy economizing.